Are gaming subscriptions good for the industry? Does it open up gaming opportunities to the masses, or are we seeing a dilution of quality where games are catered to the battle royale crowd? Let's discuss this and more in today's episode. Welcome back to Midlife Gamer and indeed 2022. Happy New Year. Now, when I started this channel, I always had the intention of not just providing reviews of video games, but also to provide some POV on pertinent questions towards the industry and giving you guys that opportunity to comment below. Given that there are few and far releases to speak of this week, I thought it would be time to debate a question that has been bothering me for some time now, and that is, are gaming subscription services killing off gaming? Now, it seems like gaming subscription services are here to stay with Ubisoft, EA, which also has two, Xbox, Game Pass, Nvidia, Google Stadia, all having services to offer. In addition to this, there are the rumours that Sony themselves will be launching a subscription service in the not too distant future, in addition, of course, to their Play Now service. Likewise, platforms like Epic constantly provide free games, giving you a vast library over time, which of course PlayStation Plus and Xbox Gold do as well. Now, there is one positive here I want to jump straight into, and that is the sheer value for money that some of these subs offer. I mean, it's really difficult to quantify the literal hundreds of hours of gaming on offer across some of these platforms. I did a quick count on Xbox Game Pass for PC and counted, get this, 394 games that could be downloaded and played there and then. Let's assume an average of, say, 20 hours to complete a game. I know there's obviously shorter games out there, but of course there's other games that don't really have an ending, such as City Skylines. So based on this rough assumption of 20 hours, that's 7,880 hours of playtime potentially available to you. Or, if you like, that's playing straight for 328 days per year without sleep, without taking a shit, without having a break. All of that for a measly $10. But don't forget, new games are added all the time, so in reality it would be impossible to get through them all in detail in one given year. When a brand new game can cost $69 these days, you are hard pressed to really find any better deal out there. And that comes on to the next big point, which when we discuss the sheer volume of games available, we have to look at the fact that you, as a little human being, you do not have enough time to play them all. The previous point on Xbox Game Pass alone shows that you'd have to be some kind of robot to achieve the numbers that I threw out. So when you throw in an Origin and EA subscription on top, you have your free games from Epic, plus the Steam sales anyway that come along, you become quickly overwhelmed. And so what happens? Well, you download a game, you play for a few hours, you move on to the next one. I can't think really the last time that I completed a game from a sub-service simply due to the FOMO I felt of not playing everything else on offer. And what it has also made me realise is how critical I have become of games, or cynical, more to the point. Take Halo Infinite. Back in the day, a game release of that magnitude would have been months, even years in the making of building up to that launch event. People would be waking up at midnight, ready to grab their copy. The buzz would have been tangible with your friends. Not anymore. A simple download, a quick few hours of playtime, and the simple comment of, yeah, this is good. Now, I had some great things to say on Halo, one of the best to be released in years in fact, but I also became fatigued with it quicker than any other game in the franchise before. And that's just it, isn't it? Fatigue, it sets in so quickly based on these subscription services due to the fact of what you have on offer to you. Perhaps the saddest part of subscription services is the dilution of games that are coming through. I'm not a Fortnite fan, okay? I'm not going to deny its impact, however, on the gaming industry. Whatever you think of it, it has totally revolutionised the way games are now released. When developers and publishers can release a free game and tie in revenue behind cosmetics, loot boxes, battle passes, season passes, you end up with dilution of quality. Now, for Fortnite, I think that recipe actually works. It knows what it wants to be. It knows how to use those ingredients. Then along came Apex Legends with a similar vibe. But before we knew it, we began to see a flood of battle royale style games, all lacking a fully fledged single player. Perhaps most damning of late is the Battlefield franchise. Again, whatever you think of Battlefield, it has had some truly great single player campaigns, most notably Battlefield 4, which even today stands up to modern day shooters, and the multiplayer that spurned from that is all combined to create this fantastic piece of gaming that has kept people hooked on Battlefield 4 for literally years. So EA and DICE's decision to go multiplayer only sums up what is wrong with gaming today. They know they make more money selling us a shitload of content in the form of cosmetics and battle passes than spending the resources to create a true single player experience. Fortnite has paved the way for success here, and it's no wonder other big franchises are starting to follow suit, such as the Tom Clancy series. And yes, of course, EA has also spoke about creating a so-called Battlefield universe. If you wonder what that's going to be, it's going to be Fortnite. And here's the thing, I'm going to sound like an old man now, and perhaps this isn't a criticism of necessarily the subscription services, but rather a symbolic symptom of what gaming has now become. Remember as a kid when buying a game was a big deal, right? It was that gift, a birthday present, a Christmas present that required you to maybe do some side jobs along the way, be a good little boy and you'll get your gift. You knew that when you opened that game, it could be with you for months until the next arrived. You would research it, watch it, read reviews, consume whatever you could about the game, and everything around it just had more theatre. Even with those little flimsy instruction manuals that came in the game, you'd sit and read those on the bog. It was great. Growing old is never fun. I still, however, get that fuzzy warm feeling when buying a new console and opening it up for the first time. But that's kind of all gone. No games now give me that feeling. Why would they? We're shoveled something new almost daily. It's become simply overwhelming, and the only way to keep up is to force yourself to drop new toys and move on to the next new toy. Subscription services are giving us that in abundance, but because of it, I almost feel like the magic has gone. I feel like gaming is transactional now. It's not emotive. Gaming in that sense has died. Now, before we get too soppy, let's counter and say it's not all doom and gloom. There are in fact some incredible releases that have come to the subscription service model, which you wonder how on earth, to be honest, the developers are making any money. Microsoft Flight Simulator, Forza Horizon 5, Halo, Back 4 Blood, all released on a subsurface on day one. It opens up a wealth of gaming opportunity that before many of us would not have even considered. Take Microsoft Flight Simulator as a prime example. This was always a game aimed at the niche player who had a hobby for flying. Those on the fringe would always look at those games but never actually buy them, as it would mean AAA titles elsewhere would not be bought. But now, not so much so. A whole new army of people get to experience this so-called hobbyist title, and from that it's going to spawn new fans, new flight simmers, and give the developers even more resources to improve. Subscription gaming then does have its positives, and without question it opens up new audiences. So where does it leave those rich deep stories that we once become accustomed to? The issue is money and ultimately greed. Remember Grand Theft Auto? That little franchise that used to cause shockwaves on release? It was on every national news channel, and it involved, what, a 30 to 60 hour campaign, depending on how much you wanted to play the story out? Is it any wonder then that GTA Online is now the focus, being released across multiple generations with minor touch-ups in the hope of gaining even more revenue for Rockstar, and actually Rockstar taking Red Dead Redemption 2 online with a separate mode that you had to pay for? Is this what gaming has now become? You see, when I play games like The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption 2 or the Bioshock franchise, I'm reminded what great storytelling looks like. What a great single player campaign is. The subscription model right now may seem good, but that's because it's still in its infancy. It's releasing games from yesteryear where these single player games were already released and highly rewarded in the press. But what will tomorrow bring? Sadly, the warning signs are there as more and more developers look to create a catalogue of games behind a paywall. Ubisoft's a fine example. Ubisoft, not really offering much on their service, but guess what? They want little Johnny to pay $15 of his hard-earned money to play all their titles. It's laughable really, but that is where we are right now. And whilst it may seem excellent value today on some of these models, what if games are never released to be bought single-handedly, whether that's online or in a shop, but instead imagine these games staying exclusive to a subscription service. You may think that's unthinkable, but it's totally going to happen, because what they want to hook you in to their ecosystem. It's not just the money that they're getting from you, it's the data. They are getting so much data. When you play, the types of games that you have, where you live, the sort of spend that you have, they'll have so much data that they can use across third parties that you become more than just the $15 a month. And before you know it, you are paying $10 to $15 a month, but not just to Xbox, but to Ubisoft, to EA, to Rockstar, to Sony. And actually, it's going to be more than you ever intended. There is, of course, a wealth of options available to you on the subscription side. Game Pass, without question, is the top one. And combine that with Epic's free games, you have yourself a strong library of games. But this train is going to keep building momentum. It's going to hit us harder and faster as time moves on. You'll sooner or later discover more subs coming into play, and before we know it, deep, rich, story-driven, single-player games will have less and less value to publishers who instead want the revenue from their major franchises. And Pandora's box is open, people. The shareholders have seen the money, and we cannot go backwards. They will not allow these revenues to drop. It's a depressing thought then that the magic of gaming has dwindled, and to steal lyrics from American Pie, it really does feel like it's the day the music died. Thanks for listening, and until next time.